Welcome everybody to the 2013 NCAA Tournament Selection Sunday SB Nation special brought to you by our friends at McDonald's. The brackets have been released. My name is Dan Rubenstein. I am surrounded by knowledgeable college basketball talent. Of course, to the far end of the table, Rob Manganaro from South Orange Juice. Rob, welcome.
Welcome, thanks.
The hell, you look terrific, Rob. And then, of course, we have Coach Nick from B-Ball Breakdown. You can find all of his fine work on the SB Nation Network, especially on YouTube, doing the videos. Just learn about basketball. That's what happens when you get on there. So, the brackets are out, the NCAA tournament. We know the matchups, we know the seeds. So I'll start with you, Rob. What jumped out to you immediately when you saw the teams splayed out in front of you?
Well, I think the committee definitely got it right with Louisville, the #1 overall seed.
Yep.
Love Louisville, love them running the table and really winning this year as opposed to last year, of course.
Yes.
Conversely, you know, Gonzaga being a #1 seed, they're number 76, I think, strength of schedule, so that's a little bit of a question mark.
You're an anti-West Coaster.
A little bit.
And I do not like that. I do not appreciate that. All right, Coach Nick, what jumped out to you when you saw all of the names, the teams, everything laid out?
Well, I think that Indiana, losing to my alma mater, Wisconsin, really cost them. And there was some discussion they would still get the #1 seed in Indianapolis, and they didn't. And I'm glad.
They got it right.
They got it right.
Okay, that's a weird thing to say with the NCAA and the factions that be. But all fair points. Let's start with the #1 overall seed, Louisville, and the region that they're in, of course, the Midwest. We'll start, of course, with Mike Rutherford from Card Chronicle. He weighs in on all things Louisville and what he expects.
Few people were surprised when the selection committee announced Louisville as the #1 overall seed on Sunday night. The Cardinals have reeled off 10 straight wins since a 5-overtime loss at Notre Dame on February 9th, the last 3 of which coming in the Big East tournament, and all of which came by double digits. Most impressive of those 3 performances was the championship game, in which Louisville trailed Syracuse by 16 points in the second half and wound up winning the game by 17. Most college basketball fans are familiar with Louisville stars Russ Smith, Peyton Siva, and Gorgui Dieng. But during the tournament last week in Madison Square Garden, it was role players like Kevin Ware, Luke Hancock, and Montrezl Harrell, who scored 20 points and notched 7 rebounds in the championship game, who really stepped up big and showcased Louisville's depth and strength.
All right, thank you very much. That's Mike Rutherford from Card Chronicle weighing in on all things Louisville, and it just makes sense to start with the #1 overall seed and the Midwest region as we get into it. What stands out to you, of course, with your eyes on the Big East with the Louisville Cardinals? Louisville Cardinals.
No question. I mean, the Louisville Cardinals should be the #1
right.
overall seed in the Big East. They've won 10 in a row. They just won the Big East tournament, commanding fashion. Every win, all of their 3 games, they won in double digits. The only real key player they lost was J.R. Smith's brother, Chris Smith from last year.
Right.
Great backcourt, excellent guy in Gorgui Dieng down low.
All right, and to beat Louisville, a #1 overall seed, this is a team that presses. This is the most efficient defensive team in the country. What type of team, not specific team, but first, what, just from a pure X's and O's perspective, does it take to beat a team like Louisville?
Well, one of their issues is they can't press if they don't score.
Right.
And so a team that can slow them down a little bit and to make them take tough shots will go through, Louisville will go through long stretches where they don't score, they can't press, they can't get out and run. Their offense is a little bit unimaginative. Okay. And so a good, tough defensive team that can get them in the half court can really cause trouble.
Is there a team that you see in this bracket, or you think it's sort of smooth sailing for the Cardinals at this point? Rick Pitino, obviously a coach used to going very deep, if not winning this tournament altogether. Is there a team, obviously it's Duke at the bottom half, you have Michigan State. Is there a team that sort of fills that role to either one of you?
I mean, I think Michigan State certainly can do that. They are very tough. They can handle that kind of pressure. And if it does go down to a close game in the final minutes, I would think Michigan State has a distinct advantage.
I'm gonna use this opportunity right now to say Oregon got shafted with the 12 seed. Go Ducks. They have Oklahoma State. Team with Marcus Smart, obviously a player that is considered to be an all-American freshman type talent. Big, physical, can probably dominate Dominic Artis, who's good, but not probably big and strong enough to handle Marcus Smart. But I think the Oregon Ducks are the 12 seed that's taken down to 5. But I'm completely biased. Let's talk about a couple other teams. St. Louis and this team, obviously a team recovering from the loss of their head coach, tragically. What type of team is St. Louis, and how do they, in being in the same side of the bracket as Louisville, match up?
Well, they run a lot of good stuff with their man-to-man pressure, where they keep the ball out of the middle, and they are well drilled, and they're very just a tough-minded team that's gone through this, and I think that they're better. Even though it's unfortunate, they seem like they're much tougher mentally to handle this kind of pressure. So, you know, they do a lot of stuff, interestingly, with swinging the ball and then going into pick and roll, so it's not just right out on top, making it hard on the defense to stop them. So they do have some weapons.
And then one of those weapons is Dwayne Evans, a star for this team. Is it enough to just have a star who can take over a game, Rob, against a team like Louisville?
I don't think so. I think Louisville is really, they're just so deep. You know,
Right.
they've gotten so mature. Russ Smith in the backcourt, you know, he's a junior. Peyton Siva is a senior.
Say the big guy's name.
Gorgie Zhang.
I like that so much. It
Yeah,
feels right.
I think it's just too complete a team to not get to the Final Four.
And the bottom half of the bracket, of course, features Duke, a team that loses, well, real early last season, a team that we all like to watch struggle, but a team that's certainly been much better since Ryan Kelly made his way back into the lineup after being injured. And we actually have a voice message from our Duke blogger, that's hard to say, Julian King. So we're going to take that away right now.
Duke has a lot of opportunities in this tournament. They have some real challenges, too. One of the biggest ones will be reincorporating Ryan Kelly fully into the lineup. Before he was hurt, Duke was clearly the best team in the country, and he was a big part of the reason for that. He's obviously a superb shooter. He's an excellent passer. He's an underrated shot blocker, and he's made himself into a good all-around defender. He can play smaller players, which nobody would have predicted when he got to Duke. He also is particularly gifted at getting the ball in the bounds, which is an obscure skill a lot of times, but something that everybody needs a guy who can do that consistently. They'll probably start by trying to get the ball inside to Mason Plumlee, and Kelly will be part of that because you can no longer double team Plumlee with Kelly on the floor. You can't leave him alone because you got an inside-outside guy who can back him up. Albany is an interesting first-round opponent. They're small. They don't have a lot of inside play. They don't rebound well. It should be a good game for Plumlee. It won't surprise me to see Kelly in a big game because he tends to feast off of situations like that. A lot of it, depends on the perimeter, and it's good for Duke, I think, in a way that Seth Curry didn't have to play in the ACC tournament very much because 3 games in 3 days with his injury would have made him probably less effective, than he would be if he was a little fresher. Quinn Cook has really come on. Rasheed Solomon was a little bit erratic at the end of the season, but he really picked it up in the ACC tournament during Duke's brief stay. So we'll see how he does. But all in all, I think it's fairly optimistic for Duke. They'll have a tough second-round game, assuming they advance, between Creighton and Cincinnati. My money's on Creighton. And then they'll probably play Michigan State after that, assuming they win both those games. So, it's like always, it gets tougher every round, and they really can't afford to be any off days. So if Duke shows up and plays hard and has the intensity they used to bring, I think they'll do fine.
All right. Thank you very much, Julian. And Duke is a team. You've watched a lot of Duke. Their team, it seems, especially since Mike Krzyzewski spent all that time with Mike D'Antoni, spreading the court, shooting a lot of threes, but they have Mason Plumlee. Do you feel like he can be taken down, or is he just unstoppable as an inside presence given his experience?
Well, I think Plumlee does struggle with athleticism and quickness, and so it's been up and down. I've seen him be dominant, and then I've also seen him have trouble with that. So, the offense is a bit loose at times. They'll take some bad shots and get out there, but they still have that really good pressure man-to-man that Krzyzewski is very famous for, and they are going to be tough.
Yeah.
But I don't see them athletically. They're a little slow. I think Kelly is an X factor, but I don't think he's going to shoot the way he did against Miami again. And without that kind of an effort, I don't think they don't have a hugely deep run.
You hear that, Dukies? I think that was very fun for me to say. Any opinions on Duke and how the way they match up?
Yeah, I think if Creighton, the 7th seed, can get past Sean Kilpatrick, who's I think a great guard in Cincinnati, I think there's a big man in Creighton, Greg Achinkwe, who might match up pretty well with Plumlee. So that would be an interesting matchup.
Another superstar in this region, in Doug McDermott at Creighton. Somebody if you don't know college basketball, go out of your way to watch Doug McDermott. He's going to keep scoring buckets on buckets on buckets. All right, so if there is a double-digit seed team to come out of this bracket or to make noise and upset teams, obviously I'm on the record with Oregon Go Ducks. Is there anybody else? Cincinnati, of course, you've watched a lot of covering the Big East. Anybody that stands out to you?
Yeah, if I had to take a double-digit coming out of here, I'll stay homer and go
Cinderella.
Yeah, go Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, a double-digit team that stands out to you?
Is there a gun to my head?
The proverbial weird gun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, then I will go with Oregon then because they played very well against UCLA and they look like they're on something there. So
that is a smart man. I've never spelled Cincinnati correctly, by the way. I've tried many times and it is impossible. Okay, that was the Midwest region, of course, brought to you by our friends at McDonald's, and of course check out all of the other regions for all of the knowledge bombs that these guys are dropping all over the place on SBNation.com.